And that means we are live here on our YouTube channel, Tackle Trading's Halftime Report. You got Coach Tim here back from, a short little vacation over the holidays. Came back from Texas, went down there to visit my daughter. Excited to be here and breaking down the markets. And actually, it's a great day to do it because the markets are down and we've got a lot of analysis to get into. We've got Emily, we've got Noah, we've got Cody. We got a full crew here to have some fun. Noah, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, super optimistic and positive in spite of the market selling off 2.8%.
Yeah, markets are down. Let's get right into it. I think we got to do a full breakdown of intermarket analysis as well as, time frame analysis, because on the S&P 500, this pullback, it's given back about 2 weeks of price action, Noah. And it's an old saying in the markets, bulls take the stairs, bears take the elevator, right? So in the market, when it's going up, we were riding the lightning. We were bullish, 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 bullish. Now that some risk is coming back, you're seeing red candles bring it back very, very quickly. Give me a read on the chart here on the S&P, if you will.
Yeah, you bet. Let me get actually S&P straight up. I was on the minis there for a minute. Couple big red candles on way above average volume. So we got, pretty steep sell off, just like you said, Tim. It's definitely elevator time. Dropping down, clearing the 20 period moving average, breaking the first key technical support level, and dipping down just a little bit past about a 23% retracement for the fib lovers out there. But kind of holding its ground at this point in time during the day. It'll be very interesting to see which way it closes. It's still not far off the lows, but that's some definite profit taking and selling pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not terribly surprising considering where the market was trading.
Well, there's no doubt about it. In fact, for about a month and a half, we've been talking about how the market is not pricing in trade war risk appropriately. And there was nothing but positivity in the assumption that we were in a phase one deal and things are moving forward. Now, the market might be overreacting to a few headlines here today, but that's the nature of the market. It ignores risk for a while it's trending, and then it kind of overreacts to news headlines sometimes, and the market is now selling. You've got a weekly chart consideration here as well, Noah, that I want to take a look at. And on the weekly, in my opinion, it kind of paints the whole picture that this really is just, one more data point. It's only one red candle up there. Okay, number one. And old resistance at 3,000 would be a wonderful technical zone to play itself into here, Noah. Give me an analysis on this chart if you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the current rising, 20-week moving average right there. That's, maybe that's a 9 week. I'll have to double check my numbers on that. That's a 9. But yeah, rising 9-week moving average. Just below that, you got a big fat support zone at 20 or 30 ballpark. And I do see one of those being a potential technical catalyst, Tim, for the buy the dip crowd. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long it'll take the buy the dippers to come in. But if you go back and look at the last couple of drops, just as a litmus test, it could take a couple of weeks to shake out. It could be over in a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And again, this kind of acute selling pressure, I don't think is going to be enough to spook the market at these levels. I think anything that stays above that 30-30 level is still going to be clear by the dip, technical scenarios for traders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Emily, I'm going to bring you in here as well and just kind of broad analysis on the market. The market was bullish. In fact, Tackle Trading had, a very aggressive ranking on this market when it was running over the last couple of months. 15-yard marker, 20-yard marker. We kind of bounced back and forth, but basically a bullish rating on the market. Do these candles change your opinion of the market? Would you go from bullish to neutral? Or would you just go from bullish to slightly bullish?
I would go from bullish to slightly bullish. I mean, anybody that's been watching the market knows that, we were kind of anticipating a little bit of a pullback now. Two big red candles back to back, now we're sitting at moving averages, weekly, daily. It's what we were anticipating. So, and we talked about this yesterday on the halftime show, make sure you have your stop losses tight because we kind of were anticipating this to happen. But no, I'm not changing my bias. I'm still going to be bullish, maybe slightly bullish now, not as bullish as maybe we were a week ago.
While we're breaking down the markets here, a couple of quick programming notes. First of all, welcome out as always. If you're here joining us on a daily basis, it's great to have Team Tackle back in full force. These shows are so much fun for me, and so I missed them over the last couple of days. You guys had a really fun show yesterday. I caught the replay when I got home. you know?
Yeah, we did. And we, I think Cody was supposed to play your role to get in the likes and shares. And we remembered to get him like towards the end of the show. And we were like, well, we did a horrible job playing Tim yesterday.
Hey, listen, I operate off checklist, and I have a checklist that tells me and reminds me you got to ask for those likes and shares because that's what YouTube's all about, right? And so
Yes.
if you are watching the show for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the bell so you can come back each and every day as we break down the markets and analyze stocks and commodities and currencies out there each and every day. And get that like out there, get those thumbs up, and let's get the SEO working for our halftime report. Noah, give me a quick analysis on all indexes here. S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, they all kind of feel the same to me. Now, the Russell, a little bit different here. Tell me if you're seeing anything different across the major stock indexes. It's mute, I believe. That's all right.
Well, you guys missed it because I gave away the secret to everything you needed to know to make money in the markets right now.
I thought the secret was just simply to believe that all good things will come to you at some point, right?
That is just, you got to really, you got to make a vision board.
Yeah.
And you got to paint some green candles going up and buy the dip. Power positive thinking. If we all buy together, no. Again, heavy selling on the NASDAQ, same thing, exact same thing. Clearing the first support zone, big technical level, breaking below moving averages, uptick in volume. So really looks the exact same as the S&P, a little bit more distance to the drop zone, to the support resistance zone of the rising, 20 or 50 week moving average there. So that's one to keep an eye on there. Let's take a look at the Dow. Kind of same song, second verse, but much, much, much closer to the old support resistance neighborhood. It's already there. So it's already checking in at that 27,400 ballpark. Again, rising moving averages, uptick in volume. So I think at this point in time on the Dow, you might start watching for signal candles, signaling that there's possibly some buying sentiment coming back in. And then the RUT, pretty similar situation to the Dow. It's popped up and coming down, and it's in that retest zone. It's already in that retest zone. It's hanging out with that 20 period moving average, old support resistance neighborhood, and even showing some shadow on the candlestick there, Tim. And today's volume, by comparison to the other indexes, not as heavy selling. It's it's at a typical level right now, just a little bit below the average. But again, midway through the session, not as much trading volume as you're seeing on the other indices.
Yeah, back on the S&P and go into the intraday chart, if you will, and we'll keep breaking down these markers. I'm with you on the RUD. 100%. It's got a really interesting intraday signal as well. The market reacted to the news overnight, obviously, and it reacted to some of Trump's tweets. Basically, Trump came out and said that we may not get a trade deal until after the election next year. Now, he might not mean that means there's negative talks in these conversations. We don't know. The markets are reading into them. Let's start with Cody, because Cody, I know your initial reaction was the market's overreacting to this and they're a bunch of crybabies. Now, I have a different take on that, but what's your perspective here? Do you think the market is just kind of overthinking what Trump said? What was your read on this?
My read is that what he said wasn't anything new news. It was something that we've all known. And when I say we, maybe it's just we being, here at Tackle Trading, because we've been talking about it for over a year, is that China's best interest in this entire thing is not actually to make a deal until after the 2020 election. So whenever you actually have Trump come out and say the same thing that we've been talking about, to me, it was just like, yeah, if you really think about it, why would China force to make a deal now with a president that may be elected out of office in 11 months' time? So to me, it just didn't seem all that surprising when it came in. But then when I saw the market reaction to it, I thought they were just overreacting to something that was kind of known. So but what it does show, though, is that it wasn't priced in. It may have been known, but it wasn't priced in.
Yeah, markets have a tendency to react to news on the trade war pretty, violently, Noah, actually, to the downside. And this is where that price action is showing it overnight. You saw the sell-off in the middle of the night. It broke below support. And then we extended that here into the morning. But price action since the open is really steady. In fact, you would call that an ascending wedge here on an intraday perspective. Breakout above 30.90 might even be day tradable to the upside here on the S&P. Noah, what do you see there?
Well, I agree with that. I see what you're talking about with the ascending wedge there. If you kind of paint that in, let me grab the little marker there and see if I can get that to paint in. So there's the resistance zone. There's the rising wedge.
There's
there
the
we go. Oh, it's beautiful. So straight. You say ascending wedge. The bear says bear pennant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough one. That consolidation can break to the upside for the bulls, but that can also just as easily break to the downside and kind of follow through off of that little bear pennant. So that's exactly how I'm looking at it. This is a bi-directional setup, which might be interesting for day traders heading into the close because you got clean triggers above the resistance zone, out above that squiggly green line and down below that. Oh, nailed it right there. That's a pretty good trend zone. Either one of those that clears, I think you got a pretty clean trigger.
Yep. Back on the daily chart, let's go through some charts and some stocks that are actually grabbing my attention. Obviously, whenever you have trade war sensitivity, companies that are more, kind of beta sensitive to trade war news are going to be moving. Apple Computer is one of them here today. Bring up AAPL, if you will. And then the semiconductors. I want to take a look at AMD and Intel and Micron, a few of them as well. Apple down on this news, and Apple does so much business internationally. Trade war sensitivity, it was riding the lightning. It had such a beautiful run here. This really throws it in no man's land for me, Noah. What's your read?
Well, I mean, that initial gap down and just a quick look at the candlestick has a small kind of hammer look to it. And I can see where some traders might think that could fill the gap. You'd need to see it start to cross up above the daily high. And you could see a very quick recovery. Again, that would probably be assuming the market's also rallying. Mm-hmm. Could be one of the things that potentially helps lead the NASDAQ if that's the case. But also if it takes out that low of the day, you got a big drop down to the next resistance zone near 250. And then the rising 50 period moving average up, down in there. So there's I think more room to fall to the downside than there is, in the rally on the near term. And the way I always approach that, Tim, is I'll watch that down intraday. I'll get down intraday and just identify the gap and say, okay, well, hey, if it starts to take out the high, it might be filling the gap intraday. Mm-hmm. If it takes out the low, it might be running. So I don't know which way it's going to go until after I see it break one of those two lines.
Yep, that's right. And essentially, whenever you have situations like this, Apple Computer is an example of it. This is risk off in the market. In fact, just for a learning moment here in the chat, guys, type in risk on, risk off, kind of like that wax on, wax off old, Karate Kid kind of thing, Emily. Flash, from the past there, Karate Kid reference. I don't know if you were expecting that today. But risk off in the market is when markets and investors get out of risky companies. We're seeing that across the board with semiconductors. Give me a look at the SMH, and there's so many semiconductors we could break down one-on-one, Micron or AMAT or AMD, but semiconductor stocks, they look very similar. They all gap down. Now they're gapping down into old resistance, Noah, which I love some of these stocks, and everybody pick your favorite one, right? For me, AMAT and AMD have been two of my favorite for a long time. AMAT now gapping down and also holding that 50 period moving average. Is there opportunity on a situation like this for a boomerang?
I think that's exactly what I was thinking. Is you're at the bottom of the channel, big support resistance zone, rising 50 period moving average, green signal candle. You might wait for that confirmation, but that's a good boomerang setup, particularly if you like the company and you want to own it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And got a great question back on Apple for 1 second right here in the chat, and it's very relevant to what we're talking about, so I don't want to skip it. Mohammed asked, Coach, when is a good time to buy some long calls on Apple and Amazon based on Black Friday sales numbers and this down rally? I mean, what is a good trigger now? New trigger into Apple on a directional long call trade. You're talking about long delta. You're talking about speculation. You're talking about step system rules. I don't see a short-term trigger, Noah. I mean, it would be very difficult for me to wrap my head around where to do a directional long call here. Now, could you convince me of a bull put spread where I'm playing zone defense? That's a different mechanic, Mohammed, but speculation's a little bit different. No, where would be a trigger on a gap down like this?
Well, I could see, day trader types, like Slawick, buying a gap fill, but short-term day trade, because it's not a great setup for a swing trade. Mm-hmm. And again, if you want to own and control Apple longer term, you need to wait for the dust to settle after a gap. You need to wait for a bottom to come in, a clear support zone, and some confirmation back up. I would definitely not be wanting to rush in and take a directional trade on that. Again, apart from like a day trade, for a credit spread, again, I want to see the same kind of confirmation. I want to see some buy candles set up before I go throw on a credit spread down below support. But anytime you get a nice pullback on a big, kind of fundamental juggernaut like Apple, where I do think they got, reasonable expectation of decent sales numbers like he's expecting off of, not just Black Friday, but the entire holiday season. They got a lot of new products they're rolling out. Again, I think a dip's an opportunity, but you need to wait for that confirmation on that.
Well, and here's a mindset thing I would kind of promote here, whether it's Apple or Amazon or any other company in the market. If you're playing long call, long put, you're being very aggressive in the market. And there's a mindset here that you should be patient in your aggression. A day where the market's down 2.5%, you come in here intraday and you start putting on swing trade long calls. That's an aggressive entry point, a very, very aggressive entry point. And what I would recommend for everybody in the chat right now, just type in step system, type that in the chat, pop it in there into our YouTube channel, because you have to build your rules on exactly where you're triggering, how you're getting in, and how you want to enter on situations like that. It should not be up for debate in the middle of a market day, Noah. If you don't have a rule design, then you probably need to go back to your rule development, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to avoid trading on impulse.
Yeah.
Impulse is the enemy of traders because it's driven by fear and greed. It's driven by fear of missing out. It's driven by, that greed emotion. And itchy trader finger is a very devastating disease to count, balances.
It's very, very bad.
Yeah. So you got to be patient with, and you need to have, that's why, having a good curated watch list is really beneficial. Again, having, watch lists like we put out on the scouting reports and waiting for triggers and waiting for confirmation. It's one thing to have a technical setup. It's another thing for the technical setup to confirm and start to do what we anticipate. Here, if I felt like you were trying to chase an aggressive directional trade on a gap like that, it's definitely an impulse trade.
Well, and it is a very good point on the Cyber Monday. What do they call the Sunday one? I'm not sure, but there's like a name for every day between Friday and Monday now. You've got Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, something on Sunday, I can't remember, and then Cyber Monday. And the sales numbers from what I analyzed were fantastic across the board. I mean, the consumer is out in force. There's no question about it. And there will be winners in retail. Does that mean you come in on a day where there's trade war news and start going long call on spec trades like Apple and Amazon? I'm not so sure. Amazon also had an AWS conference in Vegas, which might be pushing some of their stuff. Bring up Amazon real quick here, Noah, if you will.
Well, Tim, Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. So I guess everybody that bought is giving it all back today. So
I love it.
Well, even the market's holding some Black Friday sales, everything's on.
Exactly.
Giving Tuesday is really a cool idea. I did not know about this.
Yeah.
And Michael, I did have a nice vacation. Thanks for asking. We took a road trip. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
No, I like your subtle joke there. You did get a giggle from me.
I didn't catch it. It went right over my head.
Even the market's got some Black Friday sales.
Cyber Monday sales. Everything's on sale.
That's right. That's right.
That's it. I got it.
By the way, speaking of stuff that is down today and on sale, financials are down here as well. And I'm looking at JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, a lot of the more aggressive. Bring up XLF, if you will. Let's just have a broad conversation. Credit card companies, banking companies, this is risk off now. These are companies that when the markets are good, they go up. When the markets are not good, they've been coming down. They've been correlated to the risky areas of the market. This is a point that Coach Matt has been making for a long time, and I think he's dead right on it. No, that's not a good chart. I mean, on XLF, there's no question. Now you've kind of broken into no man's land. When you're between the 20 and the 50, doesn't it feel like it wants to test 28.50 now and come down and test that 50 period moving average?
I typically expect a deeper retracement. When it takes out first key support zone, I'm usually expecting a big drop followed by a smaller drop. I typically expect like a 2-leg correction out of the market when it violates a trend. So, and using like a 20 period moving average is a really good gauge. And anytime you see the price action clear the 20 period moving average and break a support level, that's putting you into correction territory, which again, on average it's going to average out at about a 50% retracement, Tim, between the, where it ran from the bottom to the top. So if it ran from, 26 up to 30, you've got, 4.5 points there in that ballpark, 3.5 points. It's going to come down 50%, on average, not every time, but it'll give you a deep pullback and it'll look like it's just going to line up perfectly with that old resistance and rising 50. So again, it certainly can find support sooner, but after a candle like today in that no man's land, I think it spooks the buyers and they wait for a clearer signal to buy.
It's amazing to me how things work, though, because this doesn't spook me as a bullish trader, but I'm not going to rush in today.
Yeah.
See, for me and you and Emily and trained and veteran traders like Cody, we're looking at this deep pullback and we're saying, okay, some point this week or next week, we might actually have some good bullish retracements, Noah. As they come into those old resistance points, I'm going to be licking my chops. I think there will be great setups. There will be great entry points. And Emily, do you agree with this, by the way?
Yeah, I completely agree. It actually reminds me of our podcast that we talked about how we manage, things like covered calls when situations like these happen. And so if you haven't had a chance to catch the podcast, listen to it, because we talked about this in terms of how you manage your trades. It's one thing to get into a trade. How you manage your trade and make it a profitable trade or take a little bit of a loss is key more than anything else. So yeah,
but
I think it's
100%. And I was going to say, you can't really shake me off of my good mood here today, because I've been listening to country music all morning. So it doesn't matter if the market's down 3%. It is not going to affect me. You hedge your delta, you get your watch list ready, you manage your accounts. An up day or a down day in the market, Noah, as a professional, you're supposed to approach it like a pro and just go through your routine. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Many companies I want to break down here today. Cleveland-Cliffs is acquiring AK Steel. Take a look at CLF acquisition news again here today. When money's cheap, you're going to see stuff like this. CLF, obviously, it's going to gap down on this news. AKS, if you'll bring that one up, is going to gap up on this news. Kind of interesting, but obviously I would not touch either of these companies now. But it got me thinking about the steel sector. I mean, AKS was an acquisition target. I started looking into other steel companies as well. US Steel is getting crushed today. Okay. It was down like 5% here. And in fact, fading and falling, sitting on support. This is one of our team tackle, favorite cover calls, naked puts, poor boys, you name it. And yet it just has not performed yet, Noah. Do you see reversal characteristics here in US Steel? Are you interested?
Absolutely. In fact, this was on our scouting report list until the last minute as I revised it after Friday's sell-off. So we were looking for a breakout because we saw the inverted kind of head and shoulders, triple bottom down there, and poised for a breakout with a target at the 200 period moving average. And we thought that was a reasonable short-term swing trade setup. But then after the selling pressure came in on Friday and it's to continue to consolidate and stay down, it could still be a breakout, but you have to wait for it to get back up above 14. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, in that case, it's definitely, I think, got all the reversal characteristics. And I think the one news piece that would really drive that more than anything is of course, news of infrastructure build. But the tariffs, can certainly, it's really sensitive to that kind of news and trade war talks.
100%.
We've seen stuff on aluminum more specifically, but nothing really, trade war that I've seen on steel that's as harsh.
Well, I've made this same bad joke for about a year now. U.S. Steel should be called European Steel. What people have to remember, though, trade war and tariff news does affect this company, especially when it's tariff news with Europe. And we did have some sensitivity over the last 24 hours with France. We slapped some taxes on them or some tariffs on 2.4 billion worth of goods. It's not a big amount of money. I know that. But we're talking about a trading partner and an ally here. Prime Minister Macron came out and said some pretty negative things about the conference and these actions that we took. I mean, is this affecting some of these companies that might be sensitive to European trade? I think so. That is where my instinct is. Until I get clarity there, or a breakout at 14 above the 200, clear sailing. There's no debate about that. I love the company. I love the area, and I would love to see an infrastructure deal next year. Keep moving through. I got a lot of companies I want to talk about. Intel is
before you move off of steel. There's an acquisition happening in the steel market. You have CLF is acquiring AK Steel.
Oh, kid, we just talked about it.
I am so glad Cody showed up to the conversation.
Yeah.
All these millennials. Can we just kick them out and just have this show? Like,
I think it was frozen.
I know
it
that
was frozen.
Sometimes we don't get to send all the information to all the way out to Hawaii, Cody. Maybe that one did get sent.
Listen, my internet has been acting up all morning, and I apologize.
C'est la vie, kiddo. C'est la vie. It's a bingo day today. You can mark that one off your bingo card if you have a C'est la vie on that card. Intel is buying some, I think it was an Israeli company that does lab work, Cody. I don't know this company, Habana Labs, something like that. They're in the biotech space. But Intel gaps down on the news because whenever you are acquiring something, usually you pay a premium. This kind of news doesn't bother me. In fact, I'm interested in Intel here, Noah. If I'm looking for a conservative company on a deeper pullback that's got great fundamentals, this has always been one of my favorite on the radar for more of an investing account. Give me a read on this chart, if you will.
Yeah, it's a nice pullback, and I think you got a potential buy zone between the rising 50 and then the old, right there in that $55 ballpark, all the way down to the 52.50 ballpark where you have old resistance and support and a pretty clean trend channel. So that, again, on the initial dip here, I'd expect some more selling at least down into the 55 ballpark. And that's where I think you might see the discount shopper step up looking to buy on the dip.
Yeah.
Between 55, 52.50.
I think even a boomerang idea, if you're willing to own the shares on Intel pays a nice dividend if you have to pick up the shares for an investment account. I think there's some legitimacy there. I'm going to work through that process on this company this week. Don't have a position on it, but I'm watching it. Netflix down again. And, Disney had incredible news over the weekend. It feels like every time we talk Netflix, I think Disney, because they've become direct competitors with their streaming service. But Disney, and we'll get to Disney in a minute, stay on Netflix. Disney actually, they broke a record again for Thanksgiving box office numbers for Frozen 2. That was really incredibly positive news. Netflix, they had negative commentary from one of their top analysts saying that customer acquisition is going to be more competitive, more expensive, and he doesn't see a lot of upside here for Netflix. This has reversal characteristics in it. And 2019 has been a bad year for this company. Do you guys see some light at the end of the tunnel here? I mean, Emily, you've traded Netflix a lot over the years.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I mean, the market's been going up all of 2019, and Netflix has just been stuck at the zone, and it's missed on all the on the entire uptrend of 2019. So, I traded bullish a lot. I have not traded it at all because it's just been sitting neutral for a while. But yeah, I don't know what it could possibly do to make it turn around. I really don't. But I did enjoy watching The Irishman on Netflix over the weekend. So that's one positive.
I've heard mixed reviews about The Irishman.
Well, do you like Scorsese?
Yeah.
You'll like the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not his best movie, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of his movies. I mean, Goodfellas and, Taxi Drivers, Raging Bull, so many great movies. He's one of the best ever. There's no question about it. Now, the cinematography is beautiful, and the music and the tone and the character development, they're all great. It's 3.5 hours. Okay. So just be ready to sit down with a box of popcorn and and some time. But Emily, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's a mafia movie. It's exactly what you expected. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think you'll like it. No, if you like Scorsese, you'll like it. It doesn't mean it's going to knock your socks off. Don't set your expectations as a high part. It's like a company. Let's come in and lower EPS guidance.
The key to happiness, right? Lowered expectations.
That's exactly right. Over or under promise, over deliver. That's exactly right. Netflix down here today, but actually hitting into a moving average. There's some mixed signals on that chart. 2020 is going to be an interesting year for this company. There's so many people that have been fading it and avoiding it. Is that because of fundamental change in the company? Is that because of the increased competition from a stock like Disney? Look at Disney, because we had this one on the option report. Now, last week, it broke out this market pullback. It's a very interesting one. Now, before we got a question on Apple and Amazon, where's the trigger? To me, if you never played Disney, I think the trigger is very, very clear. No, if it goes back above 150, I think you could make a new entry point, and easily above 153.50 if you clear out that high point. If you've been targeting this stock, there's some opportunities here, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think a buy to the dip opportunity is very clear here. You've got some really clean technical zones. You got this old resistance zone. It's already testing the old high. Mm-hmm. And it's in that area we call the bull area. Anytime a stock dips down below the 20, or below the 9, but is still above the 20, that's something we'll call the bull area. And that's a zone where you would watch for some buying pressure to kick in. And what I see really different here, Tim, that I've seen on a lot of the other charts is the volume barely ticked average on the first day. And
Yeah.
it's well below average so far. So there's not heavy selling pressure here. It's not really stepping up and giving us a lot of buying, volume either. At this point in time, we see a green candle on lower volume, but it's in the right, technical zone. I think somewhere between here 47 and the, maybe as low as 45, you got a buy opportunity, and you just need to have a clear trigger. Like you said, I think above 149 could be a buy signal if you're aggressive, just above today's candle in the 9-period moving average. Maybe wait for 150 if you're patient.
I love this action, guys. I love the price action today. I'm fired up. There's so many things on the bull and the bear list that are now changing, and the charts as they evolve, it creates opportunity, and opportunity is how you make some money. And everybody in the chat, just type in, let's make some money. I mean, because that is the whole point of being active and engaged in the market on a daily basis. Facebook, Zuckerberg came out and defended the fact that he has fake ads on his political ads and fake information, and he won't pull them down. I thought this was an incredible thing. I did a double take on the headline. Now, give me Facebook real quick. This is not the tone that Facebook needs right now from its leadership, saying that, oh yeah, it's not our job to regulate political policy and all that kind of stuff. I get that, Facebook, but that's not the message you want out there in the media right now. It's a nice little pullback. I know people have been targeting Facebook. I'm a complete stay away. Somebody convinced me of that chart. If I'm just looking at it, Noah, there's some bullishness here, right?
Yeah.
Am I overthinking this news? Am I biased against Facebook? Probably. But what's your read?
My read is that you possibly are biased against Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a decent little pullback. I can see where the bulls would be interested. You got that same kind of pullback, lower volume into the rising 9-period moving average, and it's in a support resistance zone. Now, if you don't like it for fundamental reasons, then you'd want to stay away. It is near that high, and so buying this pullback is aggressive because you're kind of hoping for a cup and handle to form and for a breakout above that 208 zone, 205, 208. So if you're buying this dip, you're buying just into resistance. So it's kind of like getting a full head of steam into a brick wall. If you're trying to take a long trade right there, it's some traders, I think you'd be better off waiting to pay more, pick it up at 205 on a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the last one, then we're going to get into the dollar commodities and keep working through the markets here. Enjoying the show here today. I want to get our take on McDonald's. Mickey D's real quick. One last stock, and then we'll get into the dollar. They say they're going to try to compete with, Popeyes and Chick-fil-A in the chicken sandwich wars. Now, here's my point. I've not had the Popeyes chicken sandwich. I understand somebody died over it out in Maryland. Emily, what's going out there with the chicken sandwiches?
I have no idea why we come.
Did you read that story?
Yes. Yeah.
I hear it is to die for. It's probably too soon to make that joke, but when people are having fist fights over a chicken sandwich, what I say to myself is you could go to Chick-fil-A, get it in like 5 minutes and have a blessed day while you're at it and no fist fight. So
let me just say this, and I'll defend it forever. Wendy's makes the best chicken sandwich. So there.
Well, that's
Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich for 30 years has been incredible. I don't know why this is a new debate.
New sandwich. It's a new sandwich.
All right. This is now the Noah and M show. Cody, you're out. Tim's out. Let's just keep going.
I'm not sure how I passed muster there, but I'm in.
Oh, man. It's Chick-fil-A.
The market's not really reacting to McDonald's here too much. Maybe they don't think they're going to actually win that chicken sandwich war and increase revenue. So kind of a non-headline, but an interesting one grabbed my attention. Many bullish stocks today. Roku has taken off. Tesla, Shopify, the Trade Desk, Pan W. So many companies that are actually showing me some strength. I like Roku here. If you were waiting for an opportunity on Roku above, this little kind of pivot relationship, those 2 candle ranges on the intraday, I think there's a new entry point here, Noah.
Yeah, I think it's a clean entry point. And for those who, love their trend lines here, I can draw an unstraight trend line, but you're right in that buy zone. You've got the 50-period moving average. You got a clean trigger on the tops of those 2 candles and a little hole there in the chart that it could fill a gap on pretty quickly. And then you're not too far off of that high. This one, as far as like comparing a buy, like Facebook, you didn't have much room to resistance. Here you got more profit room on the upside to hit that resistance zone as well.
Anybody watching this show knows I've been targeting Roku now for a long time, and it's finally given me something here, Emily.
You know who loves this stock as well as Coach Marquise. We talk about this all the time. In fact, we were texting each other yesterday because we both play it a lot. And yeah, we looked at it yesterday as an opportunity to get in, and we got into some bull pull spreads on it. And I mean, it fell right at those moving averages. So it was a perfect place for us to put a bull, far out the money bull put spread. So
by the way, I'm a convert. We rented an Airbnb when we went on vacation last week for a holiday, and in the Airbnb there were Roku TVs. And I understand the product 100% now, Cody.
I always finally took you long enough.
I'm an old man. You just got to show me, right?
I don't understand it, but my 80-year-old parents do. They have it, and I don't.
It's easier. It's easier than the Amazon Fire Stick for people to. The Roku remote is a lot easier to maneuver than the Amazon Fire Stick for older people. Some older people prefer that than the Fire Stick. So maybe I understand why people like it.
I like it a lot. Shopify. You want to talk about a winner in the, sales? Shopify had incredible numbers. Earlier, somebody was asking about Apple and Amazon and all those other people that might have been the victors from the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that kind of stuff. It might have been Shopify here, guys. The stock is killing it today on a day where the market's down. You've got relative strength. And if you want to talk about a clean entry here, Noah, 340 on a trigger on an inverted head and shoulders pattern here. I love this chart. This is one I am going to be looking at and watching this week very closely.
Tim, you don't have to sell me on it. I'm already in.
And when you compare and contrast now, if you look at the Apple chart versus the Shopify chart, I mean, if you were talking about buying long calls, I'm much more likely to get into this than I would Apple if I'm playing directional.
Well, this has got a big beta and a big delta, so make sure you understand the risk on those. But yeah, I think it's a really clean directional setup. I like the clean. You got pretty clean trigger zones. You could go above recent highs, or you could wait for it to take out that 350 ballpark if you're going to be patient on the entry. Mm-hmm. But I love the bullish engulfing candle here after the hammer on high volume. See, red candle hammer, high volume. That makes me just want to break that down intraday and look at where the volume kicked in, and boom, right from the cash open. It's shot. Well, not from yesterday's hammer, boom. About midday, about 10:30, right there when we started the halftime show, it started rocking.
And this thing can fly. There's no doubt about it. From the intraday yesterday, 311 to 339, we're up 30 points on a $340 stock, 9% intraday move in 2 days. It can really fly. There's a lot of strategies. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we did the podcast on trading styles? Mm-hmm. And I talked about how one of my bag of tricks strategies I love is the ratioed back spread.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that here, Noah. This is kind of how I'm mapping out the risk profile on this one, looking for some ratios on this one.
I like that idea quite a bit because it's got all the right ingredients. You're between earnings announcements. You have lower implied volatility right now. It's reasonable to expect a volatility build. And you have a really good looking directional setup. I mean, and look at it from the monthly chart, Tim. I mean, that's pretty good looking bull pullback on the monthly chart. Weekly chart's got a pretty clean double bottom W pattern. Mm-hmm. And, I love the idea of a back ratio because if we're right about the direction, you'll clean house. If you're wrong about the direction, it gives you I just love the downside on the back ratio if you're wrong. Because if the market, ends up selling off harder and it sucks the wind out of the sails of Shopify's setup, it doesn't necessarily take you out behind the woodshed and steal all your money.
That's right. It's a bi-directional play in that regard. And by the way, it's a risk graph trade. To trade that kind of strategy, you've got to perfect a risk graph. And if you're here on our YouTube channel, I'll give you a little pro tip here. There's a great list of, playlist videos that we've already created on how to understand risk profiles and Thinkorswim and all that kind of stuff. I'd go watch the playlist. I'd go through a lot of that content. There's a lot of value in the old videos that we have here on our YouTube channel. Many, many more. We'll get into them here in just a minute. Give me a quick look at the dollar, then gold, then oil. We got to break these down. Gold is obviously a risk off kind of asset, and it is rallying here today. The dollar is down, and the dollar is showing me a lot of weakness. Cody, this had a nice potential setup on a breakout. It did not come to fruition. Are you going back to neutral on the dollar and kind of day trading it? What's your read on the Forex markets?
That's exactly what I'm doing. I have a neutral reading on the dollar. It got slapped in the face yesterday and just ruined that potential reversal pattern. Completely neutral on this. Day trade or stay away.
Yeah, that's where my head is right now. And I know it is lazy analysis, dollar down, gold up, but that is what's going on here today. I was going to make fun of myself here shortly, Cody. Don't get so sensitive. Do you see how quick he was getting in there, Emily? He didn't even let me finish my commentary. He was ready to defend himself. That's a Texan right there. I like it. But gold is up. And sometimes lazy analysis and simple analysis is the accurate analysis. Dollar down here, risk off in the market. Gold is now moving here. Noah, give me a look at the gold chart if you can. GC. Boom. I mean, that's a 1% move. 1% in gold is a big deal. 1% in stocks, not a big deal. 1% in gold's a pretty good day. And we're now approaching 1,500. If you could break above that down channel and break above 1,500, Noah, on the weekly chart, that's a flag. And that is a very important psychological flag. It's been developing. It's not there yet. We have not confirmed yet. But am I seeing that accurately? Because I'm starting to get excited about gold.
Yes, you are. Textbook flags have 3 waves down, by the way, for your Elliott wave fans. It's got a 3-wave down, and then it'll break out. Guaranteed, not a guarantee, void where prohibited, not valid in all states. But that bull pattern, I like it. And I think that 1,500 would be the kind of the demarcation point for that, for the bulls.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at. I've been watching this chart every day for years, obviously, and I continue to hold gold as an investment hedge. As a trading entry point, I'm seeing some stuff here that I'm getting interested in. Not pulled the trigger yet, but so much stuff is flashing on me here today. Oil stays neutral. Oil has had volatility back and forth, but here's the major headline, and I want to point something out. I pointed out on the podcast yesterday. This year is the first year since 1949 that the United States, Cody, my Texas friend, that the United States is a net exporter of oil. Now, economically, I don't know if that's big news because we've been seeing that trend develop for years, like Mark pointed out. But politically and from a global kind of standpoint, I think that is a huge deal, and I love seeing it. And somebody who just came back from a road trip where I drove right through West Texas and saw all the oil fields, that makes my heart very, very happy, Noah. Oil's neutral. I got nothing else to add to that, but I love that stat. I saw that the other day, and it made me very, very proud of that.
Well, that creates a lot of jobs and high-paying jobs too. So, I mean, that's an industry that can really drive areas of the economy. Earlier this year, Tim, I was watching oil, come out of southern Utah to the refinery. You could literally time the distance between the oil tankers less than 2 minutes apart.
Yeah.
I would drive for hours on I-35 coming out of Vernal, Utah, and every 2 minutes there was an oil tanker going out full of oil and another one coming back in.
That's so cool. And by the way, out in Vernal, Utah, they have one of the biggest reserves of oil in the entire world, actually, but it's a different kind of crude. It's sticky crude. And so the refining process is a little different. They pull that out of the ground, bring it up here to Salt Lake and refine it, Noah. It's really cool to watch this whole thing kind of develop. And the oil sector's been strong. It's neutral here still. I got nothing to add on that chart, but look at natural gas. I was not here to break down natural gas yesterday. And obviously this chart, this is now 2 times in a row, Emily, where I triggered in early on my nat gas trade. I don't know. It's like fool me once, fool me twice here. Eventually it's shame on me. It's now rallying back. I've got lots of zone defense. This is one of the reasons why when I play this kind of product, I like credit spreads because it gives me cushion. I prefer that as a trader. Do you trade natural gas right now? And what's your read on this chart?
I do UNG. I don't do the commodity itself. I don't do the futures. I do UNG. But no, I have not played it in a while. I'm going to get back on it now. I'm going to start doing some naked puts on it. But yeah, I love it. I guess it's finally, we were talking about this yesterday that it wasn't cold enough, but I guess it is now because it's starting to come back up.
Well, I turned my heat up. Did you turn your heat up?
Yeah, we did. We were all on the halftime show yesterday, and we all agreed to turn the heat on so that we can bring natural gas up. So I guess it worked. So everybody keep the heat on.
Hold on, I'm gonna go tell my wife to turn the heat on. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
the only place it didn't work was in Hawaii because Cody had to take a loss on it on Friday. But so I guess it's not cold enough in Hawaii yet, right, Cody?
Just have a barbecue.
It's raining, so we are in the rainy season, which is the only thing close to winter we get out here. It's just wet.
Yeah, it is the rainy season out in Hawaii. Don't complain to me, kid. It's 25 degrees outside in Salt Lake City last night, so it's cold here in Utah. There's no doubt about it. Commodities showing me some interesting action, though, and we've kind of broken them down. Guys, it's that time of the show here. We do it every Tuesday. It's one of my favorite segments, and I don't want to delay it any further. Let's get into rapid fire. Then we got a few things I want to wrap up with, including the economic calendar, and I'll make some announcements at the end of the show. But Cody, set this up like you're kind of really pitching it. I want some energy. I want some promotion. Help people out
hopefully
there.
The internet stays on long enough for me to actually get a good pitch. But guys, let's see. What rapid fire is if every single trader, especially if you're new to it, you have a certain stock, maybe two, that you're just confused about. You're looking at it, you're like, is this a good trade? Did I get in too soon? What's going on? How are the coaches look at this chart and trade this stock? So what you're going to do is anyone who's played this before, they understand, start throwing ticker symbols into the chat, and we're going to quickly give you our 2 to 5 second analysis just on how we would trade as coaches that particular chart. So as soon as those stickers start coming in, we're going to start analyzing. Looks like the first one we had was Netflix. So let's get started. Although, Luis, you know to put the ticker. Why'd you type out the entire thing?
Hold on. We'll get to it in a second here. When we start rapid fire, it's go time. Before we do that, Emily, give him a grade here. I told him to do it up. I told him to show me some energy, some excitement. 1 through 10.
Great job, Cody. You did great.
Thank you, Emily.
Oh, you're a softie. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Tim was wanting to give me a hard time. I'm over here like,
listen, Cody's got his wife coming to the next WIT webinar. I'm not messing with that. So great job, Cody. Okay.
All positivity. I like it. I did see one stock in the chat earlier. I wanted to come back to Cody. I can't remember. Somebody asked us to look at a company. If you'll scroll up, see if you can find it for me. And we missed it, but we're going to start.
QSR.
Let's start with QSR. Let's do that. We're just going to go left to right on my Zoom screen. It's the way my brain works. I'll start with QSR. Restaurant brands, kind of like that McDonald's chart below the 200 period moving average. Got a double bottom, got a downtrend here. This feels like a bi-directional setup. Very difficult in that regard to kind of predict where we're heading next. I see way too many mixed signals. I would need clarity for a directional play. There could be a Vega play here, but I would need, to kind of map that out. Next one is NRG from Kirk. And Noah, I'm going to give this one to you. I believe we're talking about, a utility here, Noah.
Yeah.
Give me a read on that chart.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about the chart. I like the higher low, and I like the strong candles up. The volume's been waning a little bit on that rise, and you're close to resistance. So you could try to trade that candle by candle, but you just got to be very, very aware that you're heading into resistance at 41. And other than that, it looks like it's got a good potential shot if it can clear that back up to those highs at 43.
Costco, Emily, you're going to get this one. And these big retail brick and mortar type companies, some of them have been great. Some of them have not. You're on mute. Bring it off here and give me some, valuable insight, young lady.
All right. Let's see. Noah, can you please zoom in for me? Because I can't see that.
He only zooms for people he likes.
You have to ask for it. There you go. I like Costco. It's let's see, where are we? Okay, there we go. Costco. I like it. It's sitting below moving averages, so I would wait for a potential breakout above those moving averages. But I like it either for a neutral type strategy, maybe some bull puts way out of the money, low deltas for cash flow. But other than that, it's kind of neutral, but I like it.
I would push back on that. I think the volatility. Take a look at the trade tab, not rapid fire, but I'm going to sidebar this one. Give me a quick look at the trade tab on Costco. Implied volatility here, 21% for December, 25% for the January. I mean, you'd have to run the tackle theta numbers and make sure you get a good credit. There's some complexity in that chart for me. I'd be on the other side of that one. Neutral or even potentially, like I might do a condor because I see a lot of neutrality in the long term. Got earnings coming up here in a couple of weeks. I don't know. I might be seeing that one different. That's okay, by the way. That's okay. But Deer next, Cody, you got it. We already looked at Netflix, I believe.
And it was Noah that put it in the chat anyways. So I like unless you just wanted to reanalyze it again yourself, Noah. Deer's actually, it was looking really good prior to earnings, the potential break to the upside. After earnings, when it gapped down the way it did, and it just keeps running to its 200. I'm not seeing too much in the way of directional play here. Maybe if you just like the company overall, but I would stay away from this one.
Yeah, trade sensitive, obviously, company. Whenever the trade war news comes in and comes down, this one's going to take it down. And it broke old resistance, which it had to hold, had earnings that missed last week. Good analysis there, Cody. Stone, I'll take this one. STNE, it's been a company I've been watching it's been on my watch list. I've traded it this year, different ways. I've liked this developing trend. I liked their earnings a week ago. One of Warren Buffett's targets that he brought up about a year ago, which is what got this thing moving and on my radar as well. I like it here. I don't know what I would play for it today because you got all that volatility in there. Casual uptrend, nice green candle, good earnings report a week ago. I think there's something here. What that is, you're going to have to map that out there, Robert. But I like the call on this one. ROYT. Noah, you got this one next. I don't know this stock.
I don't think I've ever heard of the stock. Hey,
Ooh,
Tim, you got $20 so I can buy a few shares?
No chance.
No, yeah. Okay. I wouldn't
I'll buy you lunch, but I
wouldn't buy this with your money.
No, I don't buy penny stocks.
No, penny stocks are steer clear for me.
Yeah. For me as well. Apache moving on to a bigger oil company, and oil stocks were down here today. This is breaking support. Emily, what's your read?
Yep, stay away.
Wells dry.
I like it. Cody, AMD, one of our favorites in many ways. Now it's deeper pullback. Cody, give me a look.
I actually like AMD right now, even with the gap down that we saw today off of the all the news headlines. If you notice, people bought that gap down on AMD very quickly. And if you were to ignore today's candle and you see that easy trigger right there about 40 or so, if it gets back to that point, then I definitely see this as a buying opportunity.
LK, Roberto, I'm going to take this one here. Ooh, pullback pivot trigger. What a beautiful chart. Luckin Coffee Inc. I'm going to have to ask Gino. Gino's now my coffee guy. Him sharing some of his success roasting coffee beans. Actually, it was really incredible to hear some of those stories. Noah, that's a good technical setup here. I don't know how liquid the options are here on Luckin Coffee.
I just kind of like the name. It's like, give me some Luckin Coffee while you're at it, don't you?
That's a good chart. That's a good chart. I don't know what the volume is. I'm going to add this one to my watch list. Good find there, Roberto. Nice setup.
Decent.
Oh, the volume setup is beautiful. There's a lot of good things on that chart. It's riding the lightning there on the 9-period moving average, the EMA. It's got a nice 3 red candle setup, doji, pivot, confirmation. I just don't know the company, so I got to go look and see how the options are and all that kind of stuff.
The ETF for coffee is Joe. So if anybody wants to just trade the ETF, it's JO.
JO's been strong since we brought it up a couple of weeks ago. Good find on that one. Emily, want to get through about 6 more. Everybody's going to get it probably 1 more here, maybe 2. Michael Donnelly. I always call you Mickey. And here's H. Noah, give me a read on Hyatt Hotels.
Hyatt Hotels got a little gap down into a big support resistance zone. Watch for buy signals on this because this is a decent little retest. I mean, it's got a gap down, but it's in the right zone for a potential buy.
Yeah. AT&T, Emily.
AT&T. I like it. It's it's sitting below moving averages. So another neutral type strategy. Nothing to see here. Wait for it to break above those moving averages if you want to play it directionally. Other than that, it's a good, dividend stock. Covered calls, great.
Yep, I'm with you.
What
Starbucks.
was that sound, or was that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I keep waiting for like a police radio to break in and I'm like picking up on you.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was a sneeze from Noah because I saw that you went on mute, and I was like, "Oh, maybe he's sneezing over there." But that time, I don't know.
Yeah, it did sound like a CB radio a little bit. That brings back some memories from the 80s when I was a kid, Noah. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's keep working through here. XLB Materials. And
you just skipped Starbucks, but okay.
Oh, did you?
I just threw it up there. I like this setup.
Give me a look at Starbucks. Yeah.
Double bottom, breakout, poked its head up above the moving averages, retest. This is got all the signs of reversal that I like to see. Nice rounding bottom and good setup. You back it out to the weekly chart. And, it's got a big rising, 50-week moving average, and it's a support zone off of the 80s. So not a bad
setup. Above the 50.
We're
above the 50 right there.
Finish line here. We're going to just kind of pop around XLB. Cody, I'm going to come back to you on this one then, since I skipped you. XLB, the materials
fat
sector.
fingers.
No problem.
Man, this thing, it's an interesting chart. I see a double top, gap down, doji. This is hard to even really play. I mean, I would not really touch it unless it gets above that high at 60.81, to be honest.
Yeah. By the end of the week, we'll have a lot more clarity. Giving a ranking on that today, though, I'd put it probably at the 40-yard line. I think there's too much complexity. It's up and down in many ways, and it's a complex chart.
What if I told you that fourth quarter at Basic Materials, December was the strongest sector?
I would listen. I would process it. I would still put it at the 40.
All right.
Oh, say la vie. Chipotle Mexican Grill, and we might have either lost Noah or he stalled. Is that a sign? Give me a sign, Emily.
I think that might be the sign.
Oh,
Noah's frozen.
That's all right.
All
well,
right, and he was running charts too. I guess with that, Tim just sent us out.
No, we're finishing. Cody, bring up your charts. I want 4 charts. I want to look at Chipotle.
All right, we're gonna test my internet after it's already crashed once.
Here, I can bring up charts. Let me know if you can see that.
That might be smarter. You got to steal the screen from Noah.
And
there you go. Boom.
All right. We're going to get through a couple of last ones here on Rapid Fire. Chipotle Mexican Grill. I would love to do my best impression of a Matt rant against a burrito company. I just don't think I could bring that over the finish line here. It is a beautiful little V-shaped rally if you like that perspective, but you're still below resistance. You're at 814 on the stock price. You got some major resistance up here at 860. You know, technically, if you broke out at 860, you've got something there on the weekly chart. But for me, it would be a stay away somewhere here in the range. There's a couple more. Emily, I'm going to give you JetBlue. Let me know if you can see JetBlue.
JetBlue. I don't like today's candle. Obviously, it was on a nice upturn. It's got a little bit of a reversal, maybe a little bit too far down for me. I'd wait for it to pop back up around 1950 to get back in again.
RH, if I've got the right one here. For an Iron Condor earnings play, check that company, Ilka. QSR from David, and did I stall out? Now is my data dead?
I'm telling you, there's something going on this is right now worldwide.
Fool me once, shame on Noah. Fool me twice, shame on Tim. Fool me 3 times. Oh, and we had it. Yeah. Hold on. I got it. Hold on. We got it. Okay. QSR we already looked at here, guys. Last one here, Boeing. Lewis, we talk about Boeing quite often. Not Baba, but Boeing.
Your fingers just wanted to type Baba.
Yeah, we're calling it. At some point, you just say that's it. It was a great show. We had a lot of fun. A couple of things I want to announce, though, I want to talk about while we got the video up and we're still broadcasting out there. Number one, I am not shaving my beard from No Shave November. I need some input on this. That's okay.
You're looking good there, Tim. You're as patchy as I am.
That's okay. Salesforce. One of my favorite companies has earnings tonight. If you are trading software companies, you got to watch CRM tonight. Workday as well, another company that I keep an eye on. Campbell Soup has earnings tomorrow. We're going to be back tomorrow, and we're going to have a lot of fun with our halftime report each and every day and bring that value and kind of talk about markets. Emily, what's on your mind this week? What's one thing that you're working on?
Well, we've got the coaches show tonight, so let's not forget about that. So I'll be on that tonight. Well, I'll be viewing the coaches show tonight. I love that. I'm really just chilling at home this week. I'm not doing much. I'm working on some stuff, just personal development things. But in terms of trading, I'm just cash flowing, nothing much really. Whatever the market gives us is whatever it gives us. And we just trade what we see.
It does remind me of one last thing I want to bring up, because Noah, who we lost, and I wish he was here, Noah did an event last night where we had a webinar at Tackle Trading. And I just got to ask our audience out there, if you're watching the show, you know we have a lot of fun. We do a lot of webinars. We do a lot of content. We do our reports. If you're a pro member, just type in pro in the chat. Just type in pro. I am going to pitch something right now, which is about the easiest thing in the world to pitch, which is our membership plan. Okay? Everybody else has been doing sales. We're a company as well. We do sales around this time of year, and we've had an annual discounted sale on. But I got to let everybody know, if you're out there and you're still thinking about it, this does end this week. So if you know that you want to be a pro and you know you're going to continue to be a pro to get the reports, which, by the way, guys, we didn't even get into it, but I counted like 10 of the bearish picks that triggered off the option and stock report today. You know, stocks like GM and WHR and Cisco and even Textron and Urban Outfitters and all that kind of stuff. You know the value we bring if you're a member of our community. There's no doubt about it. We are promoting our annual discount, and you can get a full year of tackle trading, which is $97 a month for $900 for the year. You know, $895, which is about a 23% discount. So if you know you want to do it, lock it in, get it done right now. If you need some help with that, or if you have questions, the best person to get a hold of is my brother, Mark, team@tackletrading.com. Buzz him an email. I was talking to him today, and Emily, you know, we've got a lot of demand for this right now. A lot of our community members who use our product, they see the value, they just pull the trigger. I mean, this is a no-brainer for somebody who does it, right?
$97 pays for itself in one stock or option report.
Yep. Guys, I had fun. Team Tackle, thank you as always for being here. Oh, Cody.
This was good. I think we're all going to listen to country music now. Is that the thing?
Well, dude, if you're going to listen to it, I'm going to give you a little advice here. Live Forever Radio. Pull up Billy Joe Shaver, you know, the Bellamy Brothers, Merle Haggard. Listen to what I'm listening to. I'm telling you, it'll put you in a good place. Spotify is a beautiful thing. Go and enjoy yourself. Always trade in the zone. And by the way, when I'm trading during the day, I'll give you guys a little insight into my life. I don't have a TV in my office for a reason. I don't turn on that garbage where they're yelling at each other all the time. I turn on country music and I focus on the data, on the charts, and that's what puts me in my best.
Have you ever traded with classical music on? That's my favorite.
It's a good call.
Throw some classical music on and trade to that while you're just that puts me in the zone. When I'm having like a good like day trading day, just do that and just listen to some classical music.
You know, it's a beautiful thing. And by the way, I'm not a musician, so I don't have an ear for all those tones and all that kind of stuff. I got to tell you, classical music bores me to tears. So I can't. I just can't.
The piano and the violin, you put them together and it's just a beauty. Like you think of some of the best scored movies. I can with classical music.
I can appreciate it.
Classical music on a movie is one thing. Listening to it all by itself is another thing. Like I like it.
It's relaxing.
Oh no! What was that movie? Shawshank Redemption. When he locks himself in the warden's office, and he plays the classical music. That was amazing. Like I can see him doing that, but I wouldn't do that myself.
You gotta try it. You gotta try it sometime. You gotta try it, Emily.
Listen,
all right, I'll add it to my playlist.
Tell me what you love to listen to out there. Get in the clubhouse and let me know, or send me a message, Tim@tackletrading.com. I'd love to hear what puts you in the zone in your trading place. In fact, Cody, maybe we could. Tweet at us @tackletrading. We'd love to see it. Guys, we are out. We'll be back tomorrow. Get out there and do some good.